And in this investment week here on your Checho Plus channel, where we are going to talk about all the brokers, or we are already talking about all the brokers, today we are possibly going to talk about the best broker to invest in, or one of the best, because it's always in the discussion, whether it's TD Ameritrade, Interactive Brokers, or eToro, but Interactive Brokers is always in the conversation. So today I'm going to show you how to register, and in future videos, depending on what you ask me, I will bring videos talking about the commissions, how you can invest, a step-by-step tutorial within the platform. But well, today I'm going to show you how to invest. How to register, pardon me, precisely. Initially, to register, I will provide a hyperlink in the video description that will redirect you to this option. If you wish to register using my link, and if I'm not mistaken, maintain less than $10,000 in this Interactive Brokers account for a year, you might receive up to $1,000 in shares of the same broker listed on Nasdaq. So if you desire to do it, there you have it. It's an option. You lose nothing. Just open it, and if at some point in your life you achieve this, you'll be granted this amount of shares, obviously with certain terms and conditions. But well, once we're here, we click open account, and as soon as we open this option, it will take us to the subsequent step, which is first our email address, then a username. I'll be filling this out with you, obviously with completely fake data because I already have my personal account. So let's see, I have an email address that I never use, which I created a long time ago, and just leave it there. For username, it's a username, so here we'll put, for example, Checho the best. Let's see if it's available. Who knows, someone might have taken it. Then for password, we have to choose any password we want. It just needs to have these items from here. So I'll put a password here, and it tells me it's completely fine. Then I repeat it, and that's it. For country, I must select the country I'm from. Don't worry if you're from Colombia. This broker is obviously from the United States, but it allows Colombians to register. We click create account and simply wait for it to load. Once it fully loads here, we are going to click save, and simply, well, I save it because they are account details, but the subsequent step will appear. So if you wish, you can right click if you're utilizing Google Chrome and select translate to Spanish. Once you perform that action, it will instruct us to check our email and confirm the address. So I'm going to access the email and demonstrate what it refers to. Here is specifically this email that states we need to confirm our account. We simply click on confirm email, and once we do that, it will begin loading and inform us that okay, our email has been confirmed. If we return to this page, it had automatically been loading and the notification has disappeared. And now what should we proceed with next? Select one of these types of accounts. In fact, I'm going to turn off the translation for a moment so you can see that in English it is perfectly understandable as well. If not, you can translate it again. Well, the individual account is specifically designed for a single person. It's if you are by yourself and wish to open your own account, invest independently for your own benefit. Then there's the joint account, which is intended for sharing between two account holders. If you desire to open an account with your partner, friends, or family members, you have the option to do so. Alternatively, if you directly wish to open a retirement account, but as you can observe there, this is for individuals who possess adequate documentation to be recognized as tax residents in the United States, in our case from Colombia, or any nation in Latin America. Let's choose the individual option, and once we opt for individual, we proceed to scroll downwards and click on the button labeled Start Application. Upon clicking there, it will promptly load the subsequent step. Again, if you prefer, you can revert it back to English as it is comprehended quite well. If you utilize my registration link, the subsequent screen will appear, signifying that you are completing this application as a referral, should you choose to proceed in that manner. Then over here, well, as we are considered in this scenario, it is Mr. followed by first name, so let's input any name, perhaps Pedro. Middle name is our second name, and this is entirely optional. If we possess it, we enter it. If not, we leave it blank. Let's assume we have it, so our name is Pedro Andres, and for the last name, let's say here it is Rodriguez Pascal, merely as an example. For address line 1, this is fundamentally our residential address, so when we click here, we must input the address exactly as it is displayed on one of our bank certificates or bank statements. I strongly recommend that if you are associated with Bancolombia, utilize Bancolombia, because to submit this documentation, we will be required to send a statement from our bank, and that statement must include the address. I attempted to do it with Davivienda, but Davivienda's statement personally does not display my home address, whereas Bancolombia's does. Therefore, what I did was send the documentation from Bancolombia. So, if you possess a savings account with Bancolombia, download a statement and replicate the address precisely as it appears there and input it here exactly. Why? Because following this step, we will proceed through a verification process to authenticate our account, and if, for instance, we input Carrera 24 here and the document states CR, which is a denominator denomination, a shortened version of the name. Even if it signifies the same thing, they will not comprehend it in that manner because they are situated in the United States and it is an entirely different matter there. Therefore, literally, if that receipt or statement indicates Carrera 24, you must write Carrera 24. If it states Cale with a K, you must write Cale with a K precisely as it appears on the statement, alright? Once you input it here in address line 2, it is not necessary to repeat it in the city field, which is mandatory depending on your location, whether it is Bogota, Medellin, or any other place. So I am going to input here, as I previously mentioned, Calle 24. Let's assume we are from Bogota, which avenue? Calle 24 comprehended, and since this particular field was unoccupied, we input Bogota here. So from where are we originating? In this case, Distrito Capital de Bogota, and the postal code is essential because the postal code functions as the zip code. If you search for postal codes in Colombia, this will appear, but we must navigate down to this page from 472 and it will literally show up here. The only task we have is to look. For instance, I observed the dot here in Bogota because I'm situated in Bogota. And what I need to do is search through all these sites that appear around here to determine precisely where I'm located. So, for instance, if I'm up here in this sector called Las Ferias, simply the code that appears there, 111061, will be my postal code. The same applies to other locations. For instance, if I move over here and go to Medellin, I realize that Medellin is also divided into different areas. So if I reside on this side, which I believe is called Buenos Aires, that's what we enter. So I'm going to input any number here. I'll put 1000, alright, and done, as straightforward as that. Now at this point we are presented with three distinct options. What do these options signify? Is this applicable if we possess an alternative mailing address, and in what context does this apply? This is mostly set up for the United States. Literally here in Colombia they don't send us anything, but it's in case any document, statement or something needs to be sent to us physically, that's where they will send it. This particular option proves to be quite beneficial if, for instance, you reside in a residential house but are employed at an office and it happens to be more convenient for you to receive important documents at your workplace. In such a scenario, you would select this option and provide the full address of the office where you prefer the documents to be delivered. However, in reality, documents almost never actually arrive. Now, at this point, it indicates that we should choose this particular option if we possess an additional citizenship apart from being Colombian. This option appears because I have chosen the country of Colombia, but if you were to select Chile, it would display Chile instead. Therefore, if you are Colombian but also hold Uruguayan citizenship, you should select this and indicate that you have an additional citizenship. Lastly, if we were born outside of Colombia, for instance, if we are from Colombia, live in Colombia, but were born in Ecuador, we should enter it here. Now, regarding the phone type, this essentially refers to our cellular phone number. So in this section, we will select the type of phone we possess. For instance, if we intend to input the work number, we will enter the business fax number. In this scenario, leave it set to mobile, and for location, you will select the country. It's crucial to choose the country to which your number is registered because you might be residing in Colombia but possess a number registered in Spain that begins with +1. I believe it's +1. The United States is +1. Well, the one that begins in Spain, you understand what I mean. In this particular instance, we merely select the country, and here it is unnecessary to include the area code. Including the area code will create an issue later on, and we can input a number clearly without the area code, which means excluding the 57, the 51, and so forth, just the number itself following the area code of each respective country. If you are uncertain about what the area code or prefix of your country is, simply look it up and you will understand that you should not include it either before or after. Typically, numbers are formatted in this manner. I entered a random number here, but we will need to provide one of our own numbers because they will verify our account using it, so please keep that in mind. Now, concerning the date of birth, we shall input it in this section, and likewise, subsequently we will address the marital status. Essentially, this pertains to whether we are single, married, divorced, or other similar statuses. So, what does this signify? That we are legally recognized as such, meaning what am I implying? If, for instance, you have a girlfriend, reside with her, but are not officially wed under the law, then you are regarded as single, so you would choose single. Then the quantity of dependents, what does this indicate? It refers to the number of individuals who rely on you financially. For instance, you might have 2 minor children who continue to depend on you, so you would indicate 2. If you do not have any children or anyone who is dependent on you, then you simply put 0. Then, tax residence essentially refers to the nation to which our taxes are associated or where we fulfill our tax obligations. It is irrelevant if you are not currently paying taxes or declaring income in Colombia at this time, just where you would fulfill tax obligations if required, and that is Colombia. In the section for the tax identification number, this is essentially our identification number, and we will input it exactly as it is displayed on our identification document. Therefore, you can input it in a format such as 10, 24, 85, and so on, precisely in that manner. We simply enter the identification number, and that concludes the process, leaving it exactly as it is. Now, regarding the identification, it is crucial that you provide the identification that you have readily available, and I will explain the reason. First, the country, which refers to the nation to which this identification belongs. In your situation, it is Colombia. Next, the type of document. Here, it will display various types of documents we can submit. So if you only possess a national ID, select this option here, the one labeled national. If you have a passport, choose passport, and if you have a driver's license, select driver's license. So simply, in this scenario, for instance, we select this one here, and what we will do is copy this same number that's over here, we paste it here, and this doesn't apply in Colombia because in Colombia, our document number doesn't expire, or at least the old one doesn't. I'm not certain if the new digital one has an expiration date, but the old one doesn't, which is the one I personally use, and I select no. If you are perhaps from another country, I believe in Argentina, it does expire every few years and needs to be renewed. We select yes and enter the expiration date. Now, employment in this context, we need to select what we are, whether we are employed, retired, self-employed, which is the third option, or if we are students, unemployed. Choose carefully because if you provide incorrect information, your account might be rejected. So in this case, let's say we select that we are self-employed and we enter the name of our company. So let's say I work for Checho Plus, and here the address. In this case, I will copy the same one I put over here. I think it was Cali 24. Let's put Cali 24 and leave it as is. Although, well, this wasn't it. I think it was Carrera 24, not AC. Now it is. I think it's the same as the one above. Let's verify. Remember, it's not important for it to be the same because where you work and where you live are different, but I want to put the same one. And here in the city, we put, in this case, Bogota. In your case, elsewhere, the state, province is like the department, so to speak. And then again, the postal code, you know how to find it. The nature of our enterprise, which pertains to our professional field, even if it is not personally ours and we are employed by another entity, relates to what the enterprise is committed to. For instance, architecture, engineering, arts, design, business, communication, community, social service, and so on. Let's say I choose media communication because Checho Plus is a YouTube channel to which I am dedicated. Then in the occupation section, it asks about what position or role we occupy within this company. In my case, I will specify business owner, indicating the proprietor of the business. If you are employees, you would select something like accountant, analyst, auditor, and so forth. Then the origin of our financial resources, so to speak, refers to what we are planning to invest with, and here it provides us with various options. Let's translate it here. So the source of wealth is if we have something like a subsidy or assistance, perhaps for disability, I don't know, SANT, unemployment. If we are employed, we simply indicate income from employment. Even if we are self-employed, we can still specify income from employment, or if perhaps we have revenue from properties, we can indicate that, or any of the other options. Now let's proceed with the continuation here. Concerning account information, I'm going to revert it back to English because I find myself a bit perplexed. In the account information section, we have this. Well, numerous other currencies are displayed, but it is advisable to leave it in US dollars. By the way, we have the capability to invest in other currencies within this account, which makes it exceptionally cool because in this account, we can even invest in Polish currency. So I really appreciate that. Then security inquiries. Here, you simply choose these at each individual's discretion. It's not as if there's something predetermined, but for instance, what was the educational institution you attended? So I'm going to enter San Bartolomeo or something similar. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just improvising here. Then moving on to the security section, the second inquiry is what is your grandmother's given first name? So let's input Rocio. And for the third inquiry, what is your... I'm not entirely sure why I'm pondering this so much considering I'm not planning to utilize this account, but let's say, what is your preferred confectionery? I am going to input something like Rex, which will be gum. Alright, we proceed by clicking continue and it will commence loading here. Then it indicates that we need to verify our address, as later on we'll have to confirm it. In this scenario, you just click update and there's absolutely no issue, and that's it. As soon as we click continue there, update, and then click continue once more, we will observe the mobile phone confirmation here. So what we fundamentally need to accomplish here is to patiently wait for a verification code to arrive on our mobile device and enter it here. Nevertheless, this step is not immediately mandatory. If you prefer, you can complete it right away, but if not, there is no issue. Subsequently, it will display something quite significant here, so ensure to keep this in mind. What type of account do we desire? In this scenario, we want a cash account, which implies we will deposit our own funds and invest with them, whereas a margin account would be, in essence, borrowing from the broker to invest. Now let's translate this, and essentially the annual net income, this varies for each individual, so you fill it out as you deem appropriate. For instance, $40,000 net value here from $5,000 to $20,000 net liquid value. Again, I just input it there. Now we must select our risk tolerance and what our objective with this platform is. I recommend you simply simply choose growth or capital preservation to avoid any complications, or you can even select both. In my case, I will opt for capital preservation. Then there's an option that depends significantly on each of you. This option that states trading experience and permissions is to add elements we will invest in the future. If you wish to invest in bonds, for example, you select bonds and add them. Google translations can be somewhat quirky. I chose bonds and it turned into captivity. But anyway, there are bonds, futures, mutual funds, and this depends on what each of you desires. Personally, I leave it as is because the only thing that might interest me is bonds, but at this moment, if you don't select anything else here, you can invest in stocks and things like that, which is quite related to what we're doing on this channel. Alright, once we return here, it informs us about stocks, which are shares. So it asks us to select experience. Here you can select anything except 0 because sometimes they might give us issues and say we're not ready to open the account due to lack of experience. So you can put 1, 2, 3. I will put 1 in my case. How many trades will we perform per year according to this? That is, how many purchases and sales will we make? We can put anything, but the important thing is not to select 0 because it causes issues later. Let's say we select 11 to 25 and then our level of knowledge, let's say knowledge regarding investments in this broker or rather in the stock market in general. Again, don't put that we have no knowledge or limited knowledge, but that we have a good understanding. In fact, sometimes when we start entering things here, it might cancel and remove things saying we can't do it, but just put 0 here, 11.25. If we want to invest in options, we fill this out. In this case, we don't want to invest in options. And if we want to invest in crypto, we have to select the same permissions we need. And if we want to do Forex, the same applies here. But in this case, we'll leave it as is and we can configure it later if we wish. If we want to add bonds, that will be an extra configuration, but since we're not interested, we simply don't include it. Now let's translate again. Regulatory information. The owners and other non-owners listed in the account are employees of a publicly traded company. If you are employees of a company that is literally publicly traded, just say yes. In this case, no. Then the owners and other non-owners blah 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 operate or control a company that is publicly traded, we say no. And here this is an added option for Interactive Brokers to take our actions and manage and do certain things with them, but we won't enable this. How did you hear about us? In this case, you can put recommendation and choose influence, meaning I brought you, so to speak, and we continue. In fact, I forgot to change the margin here. And if you see that I put things that can't be used for investing in this type of account, remember to put cash. Not sure why it didn't update there. Let's scroll down. Well, this is fine. This is fine. No. All right, now continue. But remember, if you don't fill it out correctly, you'll get a notification like this and it has to be cashed. Let's continue now. If we want to confirm our phone, we can do so, but here it tells us all our information. Let's verify that everything is correct here where it says treaty benefits qualifications. It happens that some treaties exempt from taxes in the United States if they belong to some of these countries, but in our case Colombia is not included, so this option goes to where it says I do not qualify for the US tax treaty benefits. And maybe I think Spain is here if I'm not mistaken. Well, it wasn't, but if any of your countries were here, say Mexico, if it is, then you can try. But let's continue here. Blah, here the only thing you need to do is accept. This is basically informing that we do not live in the United States and things like that, confirming that we live in another country, blah blah blah. So you say yes to both. However, if you want to read it, you can read it carefully and decide if you mark yes or no. Once we arrive at this particular stage with the signature successfully accepted, what we essentially need to do is input the identical name that is displayed here, which is the one we previously entered, Pedro A. Rodriguez Pascal. We write it again precisely as it appears, Pascal, and proceed by clicking continue. After clicking continue, it prompts us to verify all the information presented here, including all the limits, work-related details, etc., and we leave all this checked. If you wish, you can review all the programs listed here, all the documents, as they are predominantly legal documents, and once more we sign with the same name. So we input the same name that appears here, Pedro A. Rodriguez Pascal, click continue, and it begins loading. Then it informs us that they are setting up our account, indicating they are confirming it. Here it will state that they require more information to finalize it, but don't worry, it's not an error. We click continue application and it essentially loads that we are nearly there but need to complete these steps that appear here. Now is the moment to confirm the number, so we click confirm, wait for the code to arrive and insert it here if we wish. Then we verify identity and address. Here is where we click verify identity, and there are two methods to do it, which we will see shortly. We click continue and it will request us to verify our ID and also our document from the place where we are or work. If we prefer, we can do it online, which is simpler as the process is more straightforward. It simply instructs us to verify a QR code, we verify it, and that's it. Alternatively, we can do it manually. Manually, we literally need to have the photos already taken. I recommend you do it manually to avoid any issues, and sometimes it requires a good phone, a good camera to take the photos here. So it's better to do it here, take the photo with a good phone, save it, click continue, and then it will ask you to upload some of these documents. In this case, if you upload your national identity document, which is the ID, it will be approved instantly. You can upload the photos, or if you prefer, you can upload the passport or the driver's license. Once you upload it, they will request a document that certifies the address, and that document will be the statement, in this case from Bancolombia if you have it. If not, look for a statement from any bank that directly includes the address within the PDF and the document. Here, as you can see, it says upload document. Here it says verify your residence address, upload the document. In this case, it's the PDF. Click where it says bank statement, which is essentially a bank statement, upload it, and that's it. Once you confirm all this, well, we wait for it to load because it's loading, and once all these points turn green, simply wait. It doesn't mean that because everything is green, we should deposit into our account. No. What we should do is wait for an email like the following. This is the email we would receive that says Interactive Brokers account approval, meaning, well, approve, which basically means that we already have the account activated. We can log in and we can see all the deposit related topics. In the future, I will bring you a video on how to deposit to somewhat bypass the commission topic, how to do it from here, from Colombia and from other Latin American countries. And when we log into our account, literally this will no longer appear, but the Interactive Brokers homepage. How about it, friends? Simple and straightforward, right? Indeed, it is quite straightforward, although the process is somewhat lengthy. We are required to submit numerous documents and various items, but once you complete all these steps, you simply wait, have the account approved, and can become part of one of the finest brokers available today. In a future video, we'll cover TD Ameritrade, and by the way, if you haven't registered by the time I upload this video, make sure to do so even earlier because it will become Charles Schwab, which is another broker and a different topic. Therefore, if you have reached this stage in the video, please place a dollar emoji with wings because the funds we are planning to invest in Interactive Brokers are on the rise, my dear friends. With that said, we'll see each other next time. Bye bye.